February 8th, 2021. Welcome to Superman Radio. Solo show. It was supposed to go at 11, myself and Danny, but the Giants hired an offensive line coach in Rob Sales, so Danny wasn't able to join. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put the link in the chat if there's anybody who's actually interested in joining. I doubt there will be because Superman Radio is not huge yet, but it is what it is. So obviously, I'm not going to. We'll save Giants O-line talk for talking Giants tomorrow. But I obviously already put a video out. But the Super Bowl yesterday or last night, and I hate doing solo shit. I felt like the Bucs were going to win this game, and you know my whole take going into it is like I don't feel like it's a hot take. I mean, people were overlooking the fact that the Chiefs were missing Schwartz, we're missing Eric Fisher, we're missing their like Mike Remmers was not even a starter. He went from backup guard. He went from the backup guard to the starting left tackle. We know Mike Remmers. You know, Giants fans, we know Mike Remmers. We know he struggled in the Super Bowl against Von Miller a few years back. Like, and it's not just that they had those bad offensive linemen. They had those bad offensive linemen versus the Bucs, who had a nuts front four with JPP, Shaq Barrett, who, I mean, he's made himself a ton of money these past 2 years. You know, Vita Vea in the middle and Dominican Sue. And they just blew it up all day. So if you want to join the stream, please do. Because I really hate doing solo shit. I think I think I'm the worst at it. So you have Mike Remmers and Blythe as their starting tackles, and they were going to come after them all game. And honestly, the way the Bucs played the Chiefs last night is the way a lot of teams have played Daniel Jones. If you want to, see what's like anything particular, it's like disguising blitzes, rushing four, but disguising where those four are coming from, especially on third down. And it was even like Tony Romo was like, "Oh, they're sending the house." It's like, no, they're not, Romo. They haven't sent the house all night. They're not sending the house. They're just lining guys up on the line and then backing people out. And you have a guy like Devin White who, he's making a case to be the best linebacker in the league right now, the way he was playing. I mean, he was all over the field, ended up getting an interception at the end. It was more of a tip pass. But I mean, he was all over the field, and Levante David covering those cross moves. I mean, I know Kelsey had a big game, but on the big plays, they were able to handle stuff. So, like, I really do give, like, I don't think that this was some kind of crazy, this fake Instagram account telling me I have a copyright claim, even though they have one follower, and I just replied S my D, and now they're telling me I have all right. So anyways, I wonder if Danny's still in class, actually. So like I didn't think it was like a hot take to think the Bucs are going to win that game. Now, I didn't think they were going to totally blow them out like that, but on now if you want to join. Okay. It's simple, man. I can do whatever I want. So I mean, they pressured Mahomes 29 times. And Tony Romo, I'm not a hater of Tony Romo as a broadcaster, but he sucked last night. Like, the things he was saying is like, sometimes he just sounded ridiculous. Like, he just sounded ridiculous at times. Especially oh, he's only playing on one leg. It's like, did you watch Patrick Mahomes play? He was running all over the place. Sometimes he was running a little too early. And I that's where I give some of the heat to Andy Reid. I mean, you knew you had these guys out. Okay, Danny's not going to join. Let me like the tweet or text. It's like you knew these guys were going to be out. So why are you trying to do these, like, open it up with some quick and hitting stuff? But also the Bucs kind of, were able to stop that as well, because they have guys like Devin White and Levante David, and we're disguising looks. But I felt like they should have tried and gotten some quicker stuff. I mean, you knew you didn't have these guys. It's not like the Chiefs have been like this all year with these offensive linemen, and like, oh, they've been able to overcome that. I mean, they had Eric Fisher being out was a huge injury. Mike Remmers is a serviceable right tackle. You put him as a starting left tackle and Andrew Blythe at right tackle, you're screwed. You are screwed. So as much as it's like, hey, those guys were out, I feel like I feel like they were cocky into like, it doesn't matter if we're missing those guys. Like they grew, like, fell into the whole like O-line isn't as important when you have a mobile QB like Mahomes. Because I mean, Todd Bowles confused him. You could see it in Mahomes' eyes, and I can't wait to watch all 22 of it. But Bowles confused him, and it also with Romo is I didn't like this because it puts so much pressure on the dude. He's like, he's going to be back and he's going to win a bunch of these. mean, look at history. I know Brady won 7, but look at history. Look at the great QBs in history. Winning these things is hard, man. Winning these Super Bowls is hard. You don't get like it's not a given that you're going to get back here and win these things. Look at guys like Dan Marino. I remember with Aaron Rodgers. It's like, oh, he's already better than Brett Favre. He's going to win so many Super Bowls. Then he hasn't still hasn't even gotten back. Brett Favre. Brett Favre was a guy. Brett Favre only got 1. Elway got 2, and it was the last 2 of it, of his career when, Elway, it wasn't prime Elway. Winning these things just because you're the best in the game, which I think Mahomes is. Like I still think Mahomes is the best in the game. He does have awesome offense and great weapons, but I do think he's the best in the game. It is not guaranteed. Stuff happens. Stuff happens, man. And I think that's why you should appreciate what Brady has done. It's like, because this is nuts. What Brady is doing is above just not normal. Like it's like you can't beat this. This will 7 Super Bowls for a QB will never be touched. I know we say that, and then stuff happens, 25 years from now or something. But I just don't think anyone's ever going to touch that. I mean, there's no franchise. He's won more Super Bowls than franchises. Like the Steelers and the Patriots have the most Super Bowls, 6 apiece. Obviously the Patriots 6 were with Brady. Now he has 7. He has more than any franchise in the Super Bowl era. I don't feel like we're ever going to get anything like that. So I hate putting that pressure on Mahomes, like, oh, he's going to win a bunch. It's like, no, it's not guaranteed. Look at this year. This year, everyone was saying, oh, Chiefs are going to win. Chiefs are going to win, ignoring the fact that their O-line was totally injured. So should the Chiefs be the favorite to get back next year? Absolutely. But stuff happens. Windows close. Maybe get to a point where, Kelsey's a huge part of that offense. He's 32. He could decline. Look at the way Jimmy Graham declined. Look at even Gronk, who, played really well last night and has been good, went from that like elite tight end to, he kind of had to pick and choose his battles. So stuff happens, man. And I'm not guaranteeing Mahomes is going to be back. And I also don't give Mahomes a total pass for last night. Like I said, he was running like way too much. There's times where, maybe get the ball out a little quicker. And the interception, like there was one interception that was bad. The other one wasn't on him. But this idea that like his receivers totally let him down, I don't really buy that. Like that last one where it hit the dude in the face, I give you that. That throw was unreal. Where that screenshot, if that screenshot of him being on the side throwing it, I mean that's an unreal play, and that's why Mahomes is great. But in the first quarter where they're like, oh, it hit him in the face. Well, yeah, it hit the guy in the face because it got tipped right before it got hit there. So I know you can put it in slow-mo and see, his hands right there. But if you're going to catch a ball and it gets tipped right here, I mean, you're not reacting to that unless you're just lucky. Like you're not reacting to that. So that I didn't view that as like, oh, his team let him down. Then the Kelsey had the drop on 3rd down. So I don't give Mahomes a total pass. I do think he played bad last night because things didn't go as well as they have before. But it's also not like, hey, the Chiefs aren't screwed going forward. They went 15-1. Hopefully they'll get those guys back healthy. And then on the other side with Brady, it's unreal what he's doing. And I hate the arguments that people have to like try and bash Brady. Like, well, look at the Bucs defense. Look at their weapons. Well, one, you know why Gronk, Antonio Brown, and Leonard Fournette are there? Because of Tom Brady, because they want to play with that great QB. They know that great QB can get the best out of them. And how many times have we seen teams with good players and good defenses and they don't win? That's the thing. There's always something with, oh, Brady. Oh, he did this. He didn't do that. He didn't do that. It's like, you know what he did do? He is the reason they're there. The reason they're not there last year was because of Jameis. You can say, oh, they added Gronk, AB, and Leonard Fournette. Do you think that makes them a good team last year? Do you think that makes them a good team last year with Jameis? Or did Jameis have 30 interceptions, 12 fumbles last year compared to Brady having what? 12 interceptions, 4 fumbles? We had a third of that in each category. And like, well, the Bucs defense is better. Is it, or did Jameis Winston put him in crappy situations every week? Did Jameis Winston throw 6 pick sixes this last season? Jameis, like the difference, there's no coincidence that Brady's there and now they're winning the Super Bowl. Now, do the Bucs have a lot of talent around them? Yeah, but it still is the QB who's got to be the trigger man for that. The QB has to be the trigger man for that. And we've seen time and time again, talent doesn't mean that you're automatically going to win a Super Bowl. And Brady is the reason the Bucs are Super Bowl champions. Brady is the reason why the Bucs are Super Bowl champions. Now, could a lesser of QB won last night with the Bucs? Yeah, absolutely. But Brady is the reason they are in that situation. You can point at like, oh, he had this bad game. Well, guess what? All the other things, the reason why they're there is because of Tom Brady. So, um, I hate some of the arguments, and it died this year. But this idea that Brady was a system QB was always a bad one. He always played to his weapons. Deion Branch was the MVP of one of his Super Bowls. Randy Moss, okay, we got Randy Moss and Dante Stallworth and Wes Welker. We are gonna kill it over the top, and we're gonna have Welker running those option routes underneath. We're gonna do that. Oh, now we got Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. Well, guess what? We're gonna run 2 tight end sets. And we're going to use Aaron Hernandez in this different way that most tight ends haven't been used. And we're going to have Gronk over the middle. And I'm going to throw these tight, contested throws because I know my guy and Gronk can get them. Gronk's getting old. I got Julian Edelman, James White. Well, we're doing short timing routes. The scheme changed so much in New England. This idea that it was just some system. It's like, okay, so you're telling me it's a system. He's a system QB, but nobody's copied that system in 20 years. Nobody's so. It's obviously died. That argument has died this year because of what he's done in Tampa. But that argument was always a bad one. And I love Bill, and I do think a lot of people have turned to hating Bill. I still think Bill is the greatest coach of all time. I really I don't think this negates what Bill Belichick did. Obviously New England didn't play great this year, but Cam Newton kind of sucked, and they had really no weapons on offense, and their defense, their defensive stars opt out because of COVID. So if you can argue that, hey, Belichick hasn't been the greatest putting the teams together, you can make that argument. But as just a coach, I still think Belichick is the greatest coach of all time. So I was frustrated with the Chiefs stuff. Like, you knew who you had. You knew who you had at these tackles. So let's see. What else do I got? 2 hit in the face. Some was on him. Brady's system QB. Oh, and then another thing's like, oh, well, some arguments like Matt Castle took the Patriots 11-5. Well, it's like, they went 16-0 the year before. Let's see. You can point to individual moments, but Tampa. All right, I pretty much got everything. Also, Patrick Mahomes, your mustache looks like Hulk Hogan. I'm growing the goatee out. We'll see how long I grow it out, Tom Thigh. But I'm growing it out. Yes, and Michael Gonzalez. I think people forget Bill won 2 rings with the Giants. Yeah, and he was a huge part of that. Now, I think you could make an argument that Bill Parcells was a better coach than Bill, Belichick. But I go Belichick because I get that Parcells never really had the QB. And then when he had like a decent one in Drew Bledsoe, they did go to a Super Bowl. And he even had the Jets relevant. He turned when he took the Cowboys, they went from, really bad to, making the playoffs. So I think you can make the argument that Parcells may have been a better coach, but I think at the end of the day, did Belichick have Brady? Yeah, but he got the most out of it. He made that work for 20 years. And the fact that he was such a huge part of Bill Parcells' 2 Super Bowls. So I still do think Bill Belichick is the greatest coach of all time. Where you rank their percentages of Brady versus Belichick, I probably would go more Brady than Belichick because you know what? Like the guy, you have to have someone who goes out there on the field and plays. You got to have the guy that goes out there on the field and plays. Coaching can only do so much. So I do lean Brady over Belichick, but I kind of always lean that. Jay Burman, hey Bobby, what does the immediate future hold for the Bucs? Who returns? Who doesn't? So there's no way they move on from Chris Godwin, right? Even though they have Antonio Brown, like there's no way they move on from that. I think they figure out a way to run it back. Like I think they bring back Shaq Barrett and both Chris Godwin. I think Barrett wants to return. I do think they figure out a way to bring those guys back, and they were even talking about how they wanted to be back last night. So I do see that happening. And think about that, Antonio Brown, he got signed by the Bucs. We didn't hear a peep from him. I mean, and he played well, over with the Bucs. It wasn't just the touchdown last night. Like he's been consistently good for them all season. We didn't hear about him at all this year. It's like they signed him. It's like, oh, this is a headache. This is a headache, and I kind of agreed, but I like the Bucs doing it because it's like, hey, there's no risk. If this guy gives you headaches, you just move on from him. But the fact that he came in and shut his mouth and did his job, like credit to him. For a guy who I thought there was one guy who wasn't able to do it for 1 year, I thought it was Antonio Brown. I mean, you see with the way stuff happened, ended with the Steelers and then the Raiders and then the Patriots. Even though that was some more outside stuff, but it was like he couldn't keep his mouth shut about it. Like he couldn't stop. Like I thought if there was one guy who was like, man, it's pretty much impossible to get him to buy in for even 1 year. I thought it was Brown, because you could get most wide receivers, like diva wide receivers, you can usually get them to buy in for 1 year, and then their true colors start showing. So the fact that he just like quietly caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl, had another big catch on the sideline is so weird that like we're not talking about that. And the fact that Gronk is back too. Like I know this, we've been talking about it all year, but the fact that Tom Brady is throwing touchdowns to Rob Gronkowski and Antonio Brown in the Super Bowl that's like a nuts thing to think about. Like it's hard to make that type of stuff up. So all the credit in the world to the Bucs, man. I really do think they were the better team. Like everyone was picking the Chiefs going into this game, and I hate I know there's some people who do like contrarian takes, and it was like, man, I just like the Bucs, and I always preface like I don't feel like it's a hot take. Like I thought the Bucs were the better team, and this showed. I mean, I know people talk about pass coverage being greater than pass rush. I agree when you're in the median. When you're in the median, I would rather have average pass rush. I'd have average pass defense with average DBs with bad pass rushers than average pass rushers with bad DBs. Like I would rather have that. But when you can get those like top tier pass rushers, like what JPP and Shaq Barrett are, and then you put them against two tackles who aren't that great, it wrecks a game. It just totally wrecks a game. There is nothing in football like that. There's nothing in football like a pass rusher being like, I'm getting there all day long. I'm going to get there all night long. I am going to get there. I'm going to win this one-on-one battle. You're going to have to double team me or something because I'm going to win this. And then when it's like, hey, I'm winning this, and then on the other side of me, I'm winning that too. There is nothing like that in football. There is no amount of coaching. There's no amount of scheme that can outplay that. There's nothing. So that's when you can get those elite pass rushers. You get them. And that's why, as much as an offensive lineman was a hole for the tackle was a hole for the Giants, and I'm not mad at this, and I don't believe in tanking. It's like, yeah, I would have taken Chase Young over a tackle on this past draft. I know it would have kind of made Daniel Jones kind of a lame duck. Getting those guys is worth it. But I'm also not a tank guy either. So that's that. Put the link in the chat if anybody does want to join. I mean, I'm solo, so I've only went for 20 minutes. I don't feel like I need to go too long, anyways. The Giants made their O-line coach Rob Sale just made a video. Those were the guts of it. Trying my hardest to get an interview for the podcast tonight to just kind of figure out. I mean, I've messaged former players. There's not a ton of Louisiana Lafayette beat writers, to be honest, though. I messaged his assistant offensive line coach. Guys, I got nothing on this dude. So, anything else? I'll take some. I'll do. I usually don't talk with the chat a ton of someone radio, but we are solo, so I'll take whatever you got. It doesn't even have to be Super Bowl related. Did you guys see my shopping cart video? That was funny. People are still responding to this tweet where I put out, everyone knows you don't draft running back, wide receiver, tight end, guard, center, defensive tackle, inside linebacker, cornerback, or safety in the top 15. I know I try to not be sarcastic because of those people. It's just like, come on, man. It's like I literally named every position besides QB, left tackle, and pass rusher. Literally every single position. So I always find that stuff funny. Did the Giants announce it? No. So, any takes on free agency? No, I don't dive into free agency until about 2 weeks before. I like to do my draft profile videos. I get a great, but also it's like, man, guys get franchise tags. So I wait for the franchise tags to really like, okay, let me try and figure out my Madden, Twitter GM plan, which is always annoying putting that out because everyone just, here's something I noticed. Like, I don't like to put out predictions or anything or like, hey, the NBA season will go like this, is because you can give a totally reasonable prediction or whatever, and people always just go to the one thing they disagree with. Like, you have the Magic as a 7 seed. Are you an idiot? They'll always go to the one thing they disagree with. So it's so annoying. And if you're totally right, or you like my prediction on the Super Bowl was really right, and it went exactly. I mean, not to pat myself on the back, but it went exactly like I said. I said Todd Bowles, who's normally very aggressive with his blitzes, was going to rush 4 all night. JPP and Barrett were going to kill those tackles of the Chiefs, and then Levante David and Devin White were going to be able to like stop the crossing routes over the middle. We're going to cover Kelsey, and they're going to take care of Tyreek Hill over the top. And then I said Tom Brady was going to pick apart the Chiefs defense. That was my prediction. That's exactly what happened. But do I like? I can't. Nobody likes the guy who's like out there tweeting like, "Look at my prediction. I was 100% right." So I'm not a big fan of predictions, because like there's literally no winning. Like, you're either the cocky asshole, or you're the guy who, said that this guy will get signed for, like Marcus Golden. I was like, I would re-sign Marcus Golden to a 1-year, $8 million. People are like, are you an idiot? He's going to get so much more than that. And then he signed for $4.5 million. And I go reply to all the people that call me an idiot, and they don't got nothing to say. Like, oh yeah, you're right. And I've noticed that with people who are negative about sports. If you notice that, here's something. It's a lot harder to be trying like have a positive view, and also be like, hey, those like the coaches and stuff, they know more than me. Like having that mindset, it sucks for people. But the people who are like, I hate everything that's wrong. It's like, if it's wrong, you're like, okay, I was right. And then let's say like the Giants were, say the Giants went 10-6, 11-5 this year. Well, nobody remembers the people that were like, hey, this, like, oh, this, and that. They're just like, hey, I'm happy to be wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. So it's interesting. So, all right, I'm gonna end this. Are the Cowboys a threat next season for the division? I know their offense is great, but their defense, yeah, they were a threat this year, and they didn't have Dak Prescott, so they have the best QB in the division at the moment. So yeah, I definitely think they are. So, all right, we'll be back tomorrow. It'll be me and Chris. We'll talk about the Super Bowl a little bit. I want to talk about Derrick Rose to the Knicks with him. I wanted to wait for him with that, and then maybe even a little Trevor Bauer stuff. So appreciate you guys. See you tomorrow. Stay simple.